All right, welcome back, folks. First of all, more breaking news. Reuters is now reporting that the FDIC insurance limits will be increased in this bill. That's a new wrinkle, and a very positive one indeed. Looks like it's going to go up to $250,000, although I cannot say that with certainty. We just heard Margaret Brennan confirm what Senator Judd Gregg told us a little while ago, that there's going to be a Senate first vote, and it may come as early as tomorrow night. And undoubtedly, that is what today's roaring bull stock market was telling us. Now, we have much more on this bailout bill, which is so darn important. We welcome House members Brad Sherman, Democrat from California, Paul Ryan, Republican from Wisconsin. Brad Sherman, you voted against this thing Tuesday. When was it? Was it Tuesday? Gosh, it just seems like yesterday. It was yesterday. So, Brad, yes. Are you changing your mind? And what do you think about this new FDIC insurance increase?
Larry, I'm glad you've got a few seconds in this program to talk to somebody who voted against the bill. No, I'm not changing my mind. I want to thank my colleagues who stood up to the purveyors of panic and voted against a very bad bill and voted with 400 eminent economists, including 3 Nobel laureates, who wrote to us and said, don't panic, don't act hastily, hold hearings, work carefully. The fact is, Larry, if you read the key provisions of this bill, you would have voted against it. It provides hundreds of billions of dollars of bailout to foreign investors. It provides no real control on Paulson's power. There's a critique board, but not really a board that can step in and change what he does. It's a $700 billion program run by a part-time temporary employee, and there's no limit on $100 million a month salaries
Mr. Sherman,
to the executives of a bailed-out firm.
No, I appreciate your points of view very, very much. Let me just ask you one. This is almost technical. Foreign investors, I think you're referring to foreign banks headquartered in the United States, which are essentially, if they're domiciled here, I don't see how foreign investors get bailed out.
Larry, you got to read the bill. It's very clear. The Bank of Shanghai can transfer all of its toxic assets to the Bank of Shanghai of Los Angeles, its subsidiary, which can then sell them to the next day to the Treasury. I had a provision to say, wait a minute, if it wasn't owned by an American entity, even a subsidiary, but at least an entity here in the United States, the Treasury can't buy it. That's rejected. The foreign markets are being told they're getting the money.
I got to get to my pal, Congressman Paul Ryan. Paul, you've heard Brad Sherman on this. You have a quick response on this foreign bank business?
Well, it's on purchases before March 18, 2008, and the assets there. It is for if you have a U.S. subsidiary, you can sell them because that's clogging up the U.S. financial system, and so that's why that's there. I did read this bill. I helped write some of the insurance provisions. There's a new oversight board. There's a new inspector general. There's a general accounting office oversight. Look, I don't like this bill, Larry, but I do believe, given the VIX spreads, given the credit spreads that are going on out there, that this is an urgent matter that does require... Look, I wish we had 3 months to do hearings, but I don't think we have 3 months or 3 weeks to do this. If we're going to do... If Judd Gregg is right, and I think he is, this is going to have to go in a tax bill. The only ones that are out there are the tax extenders and the AMT patch. We'll probably go on those bills. I do believe the FDIC limit's going to be in there.
With a vote tomorrow night?
That will probably help us in the House.
With a vote tomorrow night?
And so that...
But Paul, let me just ask you...
They're doing that in the Senate.
To assuage people like Mr. Sherman, who makes an important point, would it not be better for Mr. Paulson of the Treasury to announce or put in the bill, in the print, that he will set up a special company or a special corporation to resolve all of the Treasury operations, to really put it on a professional level outside the Treasury Department? And I agree with Mr. Sherman, the Treasury Department ain't staffed up to handle this traffic.
I agree. I think that I actually advocated just that idea. They're right now planning on doing this within Treasury. They've got 30 people setting up the auction process. One of the things we put in here is that they have to pre-publish the methodology, the auction process, and then we have the chance to review and look at that before those auctions go forward.
Mr. Sherman, let me ask you something. Paul Ryan and others want to give some accounting relief. Let me just put mark-to-market aside for a second. What about the net operating loss provision, which gives the profit losses a net, either a carryback or a carry forward against either prior profits or expected future profits? In other words, take the heat off these banks who sell. We don't want them to get hit again on a big loss, do we? Why not smooth it out with a net operating loss provision?
I would have to take a look at that, but the bill is very clear. Assets now held in China and London can be sold to U.S. entities on Monday and then sold to the Treasury on Tuesday. Paulson has made it very clear he would recommend a veto of any bill that contained a clear provision that said if Americans didn't own the asset on September 20th, that it can't be sold to Treasury. Hundreds of billions of dollars are going to bail out foreign investors. They know it, they've demanded it, and the bill's been carefully written to make sure that can happen.
Mr. Sherman, if it were not for that issue, would you vote for the bill?
Well, I'd certainly want to see much better controls, Paul points out, because right now, Paulson can go to Wall Street, he can help some investment banks, he can ignore and refuse to return phone calls to others. I'm sure he won't bring a copy of the Republican National Committee donor list with him, but he's got friends, he's got enemies. We can't have this kind of power in one man.
Paul Ryan, your response.
Well, okay, one thing I think your viewers are going to want to know, if they're bringing this bill up in the Senate tomorrow, they can't add anything to this bill that could cost them votes on the Republican side or votes on the Democrat side. FDIC insurance limit does not offend either side. That's something we could all go for. Chris Cox and FASB are talking about some mark-to-market relief. Hopefully we'll see something from him soon. But this is going to have to be a pretty clean bill. They can't load stuff on it, and it'll probably have to go on one of these tax bills, like the AMT patch and the extender bill, if it's going to pass the House and not offend either the Democrats or Republicans who have already voted for it.
Hey, Paul Ryan, how about a provision that would at least temporarily waive the capital gains tax so third parties would buy this the paper is sold from banks to the Treasury. The Treasury hopes to resell it at a profit. Why not waive the capital gains tax as an incentive for investment funds and hedge funds to buy this paper? You know, the taxpayers would benefit enormously just because of the price profit.
I looked into that. I had that score. That's a $250 billion score for that actual provision from the Joint Tax Committee. The net operating loss score is much lower. It's about a $50 billion score. But if these guys are moving fast to bring this to the Senate tomorrow, we're not going to be able to get any of these pro-growth tax ideas in there. All
right. This thing sounds like it's going to roll through, but I don't want to be too optimistic because we've been wrong before. Mrs. Brad Sherman, thank you very much.
Thanks for a few seconds for the other side.
Hold on a second. Go ahead, Mr. Sherman. We got some extra time, I'm just told by my producers. We're on the fly. Give me, is there anything positive in this bill? I mean, you heard Mr. Ryan talk about, first of all, the extraordinary plunge in the stock market. A very scary thing. We went down 9% in one day. The credit markets in both New York and London are clogged. The risk is we're moving towards a recession. Credit is not available. Lending is not available. And I'm not talking about fat cats on Wall Street because there's nobody left on Wall Street, okay? The brokers and the investment bankers were gone. I'm talking about people on Main Street, small businesses, consumers, even people trying to buy foreclosed mortgages. Don't you think Paulson has a point that he, with the bidding process in the auction market, can unclog this situation?
Paulson, we would have had a bill already. Paulson insists that there be no limit on $1 million a month salaries to executives at Wall Street firms that are bailed out, and that there be no limit on hundreds of billions of dollars going to foreign investors, not American companies that are owned by foreigners, but foreign banks.
All right,
he would have already voted for a bill. He can't call it a crisis and threaten a veto.
Hang on, hold those thoughts.